Dan Illman, Matt Bernier, race number 5 at Pimlico on Preakness Saturday is the $100,000 James W. Murphy Stakes 3-year-olds going 1 mile on the turf. Get involved with your DRF Bets mobile account. There's a Preakness Day 10% exacta on every race at Pimlico on Saturday. Learn more at drf.com/Preakness bonus. Let's meet these 3-year-olds getting set to go 8 furlongs on the lawn for the James W. Murphy Stakes. I want to start things off with the number 2, Current. This is a horse that sold for $725,000 as a yearling, was a graded stakes winner at 2, stakes placed this year. But Todd and the connections have been kind of obsessed with trying to get him on the dirt. And I know he's a Have to Weep No More who won the Ashland, but this is a turf horse. I'm happy they're finally getting him back to this surface.
Yeah, and I can understand why they took that chance in the Florida Derby. And look, the Kentucky Jockey Club, it almost feels like you're obligated at that point to find out at the end of a 2-year-old year leading into their 3-year-old season. The Florida Derby, I didn't think it was a terrible effort, to be honest with you, given the fact that he was running over that intensely speed-friendly main track with no pace to run at. But I agree with you. He's a grass horse. This is what he wants to do. This flat mile, I think, hits him right between the eyes. I think additional distance eventually will be fine for him as well. But I think this is a comfortable position for him to make his grass return.
Only beaten 4 lengths by a thread of blue when the Dania Beach 2 starts back. That horse came back to win the Palm Beach with an 89, then second in the American Turf at Churchill Downs with an 88. My concern with a horse like Current is he is just chronically a bad gate horse. And there doesn't appear to be a ton of speed in this James W. Murphy, and I just don't think he can spot this field a length or 2 at the start and make hay late. Although, you're right, he does have ability. Let's talk about the 4, English B. I've always liked this horse a little bit. A winner at Gulfstream 2 starts back. I thought he had a little trouble in the Columbia at Tampa Bay Downs. He was in a good spot, and then he just got steadied and shuffled all the way out, entering the far turn. He tried to split horses. He altered course down to the inside. He was running late, and that race has come back live.
Yeah, it certainly has. You know, you take a look at Digital Age. We obviously know he came back to win on Derby weekend with a 90 buyer, but then the second and third place finishers, they were both solid in their next start. One earned an 86, one was the next out winner with an 87. So the form of that race has held up. I agree with you. I think English B is talented. I picked him second, toyed with picking him first. There's another horse, though, in here that I'm quite fond of. I think English B's got a big chance to win this race.
Rider switched to Jose Ortiz for trainer Graham Motion. Motion will also be represented by the number 1, Shootin' the Breeze, and this horse has a nice pedigree. A half to It's Tea Time, a half to Ultra Brat. These are some nice turf horses, and Shootin' the Breeze is going to get blinkers for the first time, and maybe that's just what the doctor ordered, as we see from this formulator fact. Over the past 5 years, 3-year-old turf routers off a slight layoff, adding blinkers, 21% winners, 224 ROI. Maybe the blinkers get this horse into the race a little bit earlier. In his most recent performance, he finished ahead of a horse that came back to win at Arlington with an 81 buyer.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to hope that the blinkers do make him take that step forward and be a little bit more forward into the run, because just simply of the 2 motion horses, I much prefer English B so far from what I've seen. Now, again, the equipment change may be all that Shootin' the Breeze needs to take that step forward, but until he does it, I don't want to be betting on it.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector. I mentioned we're not expecting a fast pace. Timeform US concurs blue bar situation. Timeform US parlance, that means favoring horses on or near the early lead. The 8 Empire of War has the ability to stay close to the lead. I liked some of the things this horse did at 2. He won the AWOD Stakes at Aqueduct over yielding ground. His most recent race was the Woodhaven, and it was his first start off the layoff. He was pressing the pace over a yielding turf course, and I just don't think he really cared for the turf course that day. Another Pletcher horse, Clint Maroon, did. He won off by 4 lengths. This horse has some pedigrees, a half to separation of powers. This looks like a good trip coming for a horse that is improving second off the layoff.
Yeah, that's the key for me. Second off the bench, I don't really want to hold that Woodhaven against him too much. You brought up the yielding turf. I know he has run well over it in the past, but given the fact that was his first start in what, about 6 months, I think he probably needed one before we were going to see his best. He's probably tighter this time around. I'd expect an improved effort, especially with that pace projector.
The 7, Thomas Shelby, can also be close to the pace. He is stretching out off of a dirt effort. Turf debut for Thomas Shelby. He's got a nice turf pedigree. He's by the Great Curlin, 12% winners with first-time turf runners, but the Dam was a stakes-winning turf sprinter that was grade 3 placed going a mile on the weeds, and she has foaled Heiko, a stakes winner on the turf, and another multiple stakes winner on the turf. So this horse should really appreciate it and has good synthetic form for the great Wesley Ward.
Yeah, we'll see what we get here from this horse. I mean, the most recent run, I don't want to hold that against him, draw a line through the dirt effort. Though the run two starts back, he was outright on the lead with soft fractions, but he did run well. And again, we've talked about it. It's not an apples to apples comparison, but the synth to the turf, that can occasionally work. I'm sure the backers are going to hope that he does his namesake proud.
Another horse trying turf for the first time is the number 9 Thibault. And when Thibault walks into the paddock on Saturday, he's going to be looking around. And he's going to be pleased when he doesn't see Always Mining in there, because Always Mining has beaten him 4 out of the last 5 races, the last 4 times they faced each other. Thibault, I think, is a turf horse all along. He's by Kitten's Joy, champion turf runner, 13% winners with first-time turf runners. The dam has foaled 3 full siblings to this horse that have tried the turf. All of them have won. I am expecting Thibault to run well on the turf. He needs pace, though.
He needs pace, and the thing that kind of scared me a little bit. We've talked about it. Look, Kitten's Joy. They want grass. They don't want the main track any part of it. The raw numbers for Claudio Gonzalez going turf to dirt and turf in general. I don't really know what it is, because Gonzalez is a great trainer, but holy smokes, man, we're looking at 0 for 46 with the raw turf numbers. I got to see one before I go betting on this horse.
With our luck, Matt. He's got one in the Jim McKay turf spread, probably wins that one. I think that race is on Friday, and it just takes that stat away. But I was stunned as well. It's only been the last 2 years. Before that, he was fine on turf. He's allergic to it the last couple of seasons. Gearhead is the number 10. Gearhead went fine last time out at Laurel, going a mile. I thought he got a decent pace to run into. He ran second. It was a good performance for Gearhead, who is still eligible for a non-winners of 2 life. This is a tough outside post position for him, and he's got to prove he belongs with these kind of horses.
That's the biggest concern. I mean, go to that run 2 starts back, almost 35-1, no match for a horse in Shooting the Breeze, who wasn't even good enough to win that day. I know Clint Maroon came back and won that stakes race next out, but Gearhead, to me, he needs to prove he belongs.
Let's respect the number 3, Eon. 6-1 on the morning line. You're getting a Rad Ortiz for Arnaud Delacour. Cross entered on Friday, hopefully runs here. Beat a couple of next out winners when scoring his maiden on the turf at Keeneland. Got some pedigree, a full to the multiple graded stakes winning dirt horse Giant Gizmo, as well as the French Group 2 turf winner Tazlo. Eons has shown some tactical speed and got a nice fig last time out.
Yeah, I don't think Eons is out of this race if they do go here. He is cross-entered on Friday, but you brought up the pair of next out winners. Proud as Punch came back and earned a 79 next out. And then the 10th place finisher, albeit on dirt, came back and was the next out winner with an 81. So the form of that race is held up. And again, from a nice sort of stalking trip, could be coming for Eons, has a nice late kick as well.
Let's look at our top selection for the James W. Murphy Stakes. We're both going with the 5 Real News, despite the fact that he's stretching out in distance for the first time in his career. He is by the factor, but I think this horse has enough pedigree to get the mile. The dam was stakes placed at 8 furlongs. She has foaled Good Morning Diva, who won the Calder Derby off the turf around 2 turns, and I like the way Real News finished last time out against a good turf sprinter in Bulletin.
Yeah, I agree 100% with all that. I just love the way that he finished in that Palisades turf sprint most recently. And I know when you first look at it, you see Bulletin. He came back and bombed at 1-10 on Derby weekend. He's really the only horse, though, that has come back and run and not lived up to expectation, because everyone else has basically either equaled or slightly bettered their buyer that they earned in that Palisades turf sprint. So I almost feel like Bulletin might be a little bit of the anomaly coming out of that group. Look, the way that he finished at 5.5, I understand there's no guarantee until they do it going 2 turns, but if you couple it with that pace projector, I think Real News is the goods. He looks like a really nice horse, goes out for Al Stall, and if you're just a figure player, he's the horse with the figs. You're in a 115 time form US rating. I mean, that towers over this field if he can successfully stretch out to 2 turns, which I think he can.
It's all about him settling in the early portion of this race as he stretches out. If he does, he should have enough stamina in reserve to beat this field. I agree with you. I'm going 5-6-3-2. Give me numbers.
5-4-2-3.
It's the James W. Murphy Stakes. It's race number 5 at Pimlico on Preakness Saturday. It's a race you bet with your DRF Bets account, especially on the phone, because you get a 10% exacta winners bonus all day long at Old Hilltop on Saturday. DRF.com/Preakness bonus is where you go for the details. Approximate post 12:51 Eastern. Best of luck.